I would love one.
Ooh, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter. Actually, you know what? I've got it on here, so you need one. You
I'll
need
take
one.
one.
As the
Although I was
chair, you
pulling
need
it
one.
up, otherwise.
Yeah, I got my computer here, so.
What about Kelly? She coming?
She is not.
She's not.
We started at 4:15 last time. She reserved that time in her calendar and had a 5:30 to cover this up, so she was not. So we get to pick on Ray without any additional city support, so.
Okay. Are we waiting for anybody else? Yes, no, maybe?
It's
Okay.
time.
Well, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Could we do a roll call, please?
Here. I am here. I guess I'm here.
I'm here. Okay, now if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on. Public comment. Seeing no one here and none online, we're going to move right on down the line to the consent calendar. So let's see, do I have any motion to approve the consent calendar?
I would make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, no public comment. Would you pull the votes?
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay, item number 4, approval of the 3-year contract extension with TMTP Consulting for RCTA Administrative Services.
And this item is one that we're going to have to, I believe we're going to have to pull. Is Catherine on the Zoom? Catherine Groves, our attorney.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can. Welcome. Did you want to talk a little bit to the board and give them an update what's going on in this?
Yeah, happy to. Good evening, everyone. So we just need to have a couple more conversations with the chair and with TMTP Consulting about the contract extension. In the contract as it is right now, there is an option to extend the contract for an additional 2 years. So that's something that we were wanting to explore a little bit more, but I anticipate that we'll be able to conclude the discussions either by the next board meeting, or I believe, Joe, you wanted to bring it to the April board meeting.
Yeah, and I'm going to take full blame on this not being done and ready because Catherine had reached out to me to make another phone conversation and I didn't get back to her, so I'm sorry about that. I did get your emails, and I will give you a call tomorrow and then we can discuss it.
Perfect, thank you.
Catherine, while we have you here, and thank you for being here, it's great to see you. Did you want to talk a little bit about the Form 700 requirements for the board? Because we're wanting to make sure that we, one, need to execute those filings for everybody on this board, and then two, if we could look into maybe the e-filing portal to make it easier. I don't know if you've heard of that, but the city's using it and they seem to like it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to discuss the e-filing with you, Joe, separately. In general, you can use e-filing, but to your question about who has to file Form 700, so the statute, California Political Reform Act, requires all board members to file Form 700s, complete Form 700s. And part of the reason why that is because the agency, there's a presumption that board members are financially interested, not financially interested, there's a presumption that board members are involved in making all agencies decisions, so that's the reason why you have to complete a full Form 700, along with the board members and your general manager, and I also have to complete Form 700s. And those are due, I believe it's April 1st, is that right, Joe?
Mine says the second. I was gonna say, I have a link from the FPPC, as a reminder for Form 700 filing complete, or I have an email complete with link, so if you guys would like me to forward that, I certainly can do that. Yeah? You want
Yeah,
to?
yep.
Okay.
That sounds good. Thank you, Catherine. Anything else any questions for Catherine?
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now moving on, item number 5, adopt resolution 2023-24-13, approving the amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2023-24 RCTA budget.
Thank you, Chair Borges. This item should be pretty quick. This may not be the last amendment of this fiscal year, but it is the first. Just to recap, the way the Del Norte County who does our books and is our accounting wing of the RCTA, they budget on a line-by-line basis, so if any line goes over, you got to do an amendment or a revision. So obviously that makes it very challenging in this environment to perfectly predict every line. So at this point, we're looking at lines 6 months in, so we had half a year's worth of data to go by on this particular amendment. And we had a couple of things that needed to be added because it's money and expenditures that came in that we weren't sure about this time last year when we worked on the budget last spring. So those have come to fruition, so they needed to be added to the budget. And while we're doing this exercise, we look for other lines that might need to be modified. So there's the first bulleted list, about six lines are getting a little bit more money, and then about 4 lines or so are donating to them. And that just means projects are not going to advance as fast as, when we do the budget, it's for the best case scenario, so that if all stars aligned and everything clicked, we'd spend that much in a year, but unfortunately reality comes in and we don't spend that much. So that's what you have before you today is Amendment 1 to add money for the short-range transit plan, as well as clean up some of these other lines.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, do you have a motion?
I will make a motion, we approve the amendments as stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, no public comment, so would you please pull the votes?
Director Roberts? Yes. Director Short?
Yes.
Director Altman?
Yes.
Chairman Borges?
Yes. Okay, item number 6. Approve purchase order 2023-24-24 in an amount not to exceed $474,478 to Model 1 for the purchase of 2 replacement diesel buses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the first of 2 in a row that we're going to be able to proceed ahead with that are bus orders that are not electric buses. So these will probably be the last 2 purchase orders for bus replacements in our foreseeable future that'll be for gasoline or diesel buses. This particular PO 24 is for 2 diesel buses, which we will generally deploy on the Route 20 between here and Eureka, because that's the route that, due to its grade and weather and power and AC uses, that's the route where we need the diesels the most. So these will, we're ordering these off the CalAct bid, which is the way we've always done things. It's easiest, it's very good usually. The only downside of this is we only have one vendor we can order these Fords from, and that's Model 1, formerly known as Creative Bus Sales. And they've been hit kind of some of the hardest hit as far as delays in getting buses, from the factory to end users. The last new buses we got from Creative was in the fall of 2019, so we're due. There's 2 buses coming that's not on today's docket or anything. We ordered them in 2021 that are supposed to come in this spring, so that'll be our first buses in 5 years. But it looks like the looks like I'm told Ford is catching up with their backlog of orders. There was a number of things that conspired during the COVID to cause this backlog in our little corner, little being the key word, our little corner of the bus manufacturing industry. So anyway, we're told that this order will probably take about 18 months, give or take. So we'll order them this winter and probably see them in the fall of '25.
Wow.
And that's that's better than 3 years. So I'm still cautious about the year and a half, but hopefully it's true.
Wow. Why is this the only place you can order from?
In California, unless we want to write our own specs, which would take as much as probably 2 board meetings worth of my time to write our own specs, little agencies almost never do that. Unless we went that route, we need to purchase off an approved FTA cooperative, and CalAct is the only one in California, and Caltrans won't let us use Washington, because you guys may recall a few months ago, I threw up my hands and said, I'm going to talk to the guys up in Washington, because they have a really good co-op up there. And I talked to them, and they're like, yeah, we're fine with selling to California. But then Caltrans said no. So here we are. We have one cooperative we can purchase off of, and it's this one. And the winner of the Ford bid in our class was Creative/Model 1 again. We just need to call them and up the communication to a point where it speeds them up, and then hopefully the backlog, works itself out like they think it will.
Okay, any questions from the board? Nope, looking good. All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the purchase order.
Who wants to buy a bus? Go ahead, Ray. You gonna buy a bus? 2 buses.
Okay, I make a motion to approve purchase order 2023-24-24 in the amount not to exceed $400,074,478 to Model 1 for purchase of 2 replacement diesel buses.
I second that emotion.
We have a motion, a second, no public comment. Could you please pull the vote?
Director Short,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay, moving on, item number 7. Did we want to skip that, or were you able to make progress on that?
No, we were able to make progress on that, but I noticed not everybody's packet has that progress in it.
No,
We posted it just before the meeting a couple hours ago, added it to the packet. So this one is another purchase order, number 25 this year, and the amount not to exceed is, great. I don't know how that didn't make it in.
625,000?
Yeah, 625 for 3 low-floor gasoline Arbach Ford buses. That one is, it's real fresh, so if you wanted to table it, you can, but we got not this version that got printed, but on the website, if you pull that, you can see the staff report and the 2 attachments. So they're very similar to the last item. This one's for 3 low-floor gas buses, so they're running just over 200,000 apiece, like 207, 208, someone in there. And again, they're a year and a half out, so if we dither or we delay, it's going to just be a couple more months. But yeah, we were hoping to get that approved today. They still need to be approved by Caltrans before they can actually place the order. But we wanted to get that to you guys today.
This is from the same company, just different style of vehicle.
Yeah.
A smaller
A little bit
gas.
smaller, gas-powered, and we'll use them more locally here, although they could do the grade. They could if they had to. And these are the low-floor ones, which are really good for around town, easy to get on and off for the passengers.
With the purchase of these, does that remove are we going to remove 5 buses?
We will. We'll retire probably 1 for 1, probably 5 buses when these 5 arrive.
And then what's going to happen with these when all the electrical, minus the diesel one for Route 20, but
When the electrical ones come, we will, we'll temporarily probably have more vehicles than we need, so we'll be able to spread out their duty cycles. But they'll be there in case there's any issues with the electrics, if we're charging's down and we had to make poll one day, it'll be really good to have enough fossil fuel buses to actually keep the service running in case our chargers are down.
Sure. And is there a resale amount on the ones that we're going to be trading out?
Usually there is. So if they if they were able to fetch 5,000 or more per vehicle, we would actually have to give some of the money back to the feds, which rarely is the case. But they usually value comes up to like 500 to 4,000, somewhere in that range. There's some value to them, but not a lot.
$500 to
Yeah.
$4,000?
500 up to like $4,000. If they come up more than 5,000, we have to pay back some of the money to the FTA.
And how old are these?
The retirement buses that we have are probably mostly 8 to 10 years old. Their useful lives are like 6. So
we
yeah,
buy
we're-
them for 200 and sell them for 5?
something like that, yeah.
It's a hell of a business.
Right?
How many miles on?
We use them pretty extensively
I like
before
it.
we sell them.
Okay.
But yeah, we do. So once it comes time to retire these, I think, what's our boneyard now? We got like 2 or 3. At some point we have 4 in the boneyard now. At some point we've had 6 or 8 or 0. So it just kind of, the boneyard's where they go when they're first retired.
Sure.
And we can even use those occasionally as needed, if needed. But then we can surplus them. So we'll bring a separate item to you guys for that process.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions?
Chair, I would just ask if it's appropriate to go forward with this item without it being posted 72 hours prior.
I think the only thing that wasn't posted was the dollar amount, but it's still an open discussion item. So we could, through discussion, change it. So yeah, I believe it's still appropriate now that we have a dollar amount, because we knew what the item was to be discussed. So if it wasn't on the agenda, yeah, I'd agree with you that we couldn't act on it, but having a placeholder on it like this, I think is appropriate, so.
Okay, thank you.
The not to exceed amount, again, Joe?
625.
625. And that's just because it's a preliminary quote. We may have to, I don't think it'll go up much, but I just wanted to leave a little wiggle room there at the top.
Okay.
If it goes above that amount, will it be brought before the board for approval?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, well, we'd have to bring it back to amend the PO.
Which, with this purchase order, these estimates are from recently? I mean, you just got these like
Yeah, that
today.
quote came in this afternoon, so it's as fresh as
Pretty
can.
accurate as it's going to
Yeah,
get.
it's going to be, and it's off the Calac bid, so their pricing's pretty locked in, so the only way the price would really go up would be if we, as we're finalizing the order, we want this kind of seat, not that kind of seat, if there's like an upgrade thing. That's why I wanted to leave a few hundred in wiggle room in case we see a part or something we want to change.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'm looking for a motion to,
So I will make that motion that we approve purchase order 2023-24-25 in an amount not to exceed $625,000 for the purchase of 3 replacement low-floor buses.
we have a
I
motion
second that motion.
and a second. Would you please pull the vote?
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Director Altman,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay, item number 8, fare increase update, public outreach plan elements and timeline.
Okay, this item's an informational item. We have gotten busy, finally, on the fare increase. We did a public event today. The attendance was poor. Zero's a pretty poor. Well, yeah, we had 3 staffers that were there at different times to, we weren't able to get any riders to come over. We only advertised it about 2-3 days in advance, so the ad started going in the fleet on Friday, and so maybe if someone didn't ride Friday or Saturday, they wouldn't have noticed about it. And then we had signs up down at the Cultural Center. We met in the Cultural Center meeting room, so it was real convenient, but we didn't draw any attendance. So That's not too surprising. People don't come to these meetings. As much as I find transit planning fun, not everyone does. So we'll need to, do some other things, and the plan is to repeat what we did, because it was a really good setup. So we will reserve the cultural center again, probably on the day of the April meeting, and do another workshop and see if we can get some more attendance at that one. But beyond that, it's not the only way we're trying to get the word out. So we will continue to, we'll put up some new car cards. We have a Survey Monkey that's about to go live that has, I believe it's 6 questions about, first it tries to walk them through why we would want to raise fares. It's not just to be mean, it's a state law that if we don't get 10% of our operating costs, they can cut our funding, which nobody wants to see. So anyway, so we have some explanatory and then some questions, asking them to rank stuff and, what kind of fare increase could they tolerate. So that Survey Monkey will be ready to be posted on our website, and then we can send it out to anyone that wants a copy, that wants to kind of viral, get it out in the community. And then the Survey Monkey then we'll cut that off, like say in mid-April, so that we can talk about the results of that when we get together at the late April workshop. The webpage is already set up, or it's in process. We don't have the link to the Survey Monkey in there yet, but we did have the advertisement for today's event in there, as well as a PowerPoint we put together that was spooling during the event, or I was trying to spool. We had trouble with that too, but luckily nobody saw that. But anyway, the PowerPoint explains why we have to do this and what we're up to. And so that'll be linked on the webpage as well as a survey. And then we'll try another drop-in event on April 29th before we come meet with you guys in the afternoon of the 29th. Beyond that, we're open to any other ideas as well, especially if it can be easily managed. And then there's a copy of these are the slides, I should say, from the aforementioned spooled PowerPoint that was giving us trouble over at the cultural center today.
Okay, so any other thoughts or possible direction for outreach from the board that you'd like to throw out there for fare increase implementation? No, we're all good with what we got going on? Okay. That was it, information only, right?
Yep.
Okay, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 9. Let's see, discussion of the RCTA technology projects, impacts for passenger and cost to RCTA going forward.
This item, thank you, Chair Borges. This item used to be like almost every other month. We did a technology update there for a while. When I came on board 8 years ago, it was one of the board and staff's top priorities was to catch us up with the rest of the world on our technology. So we've been busy doing that. So as you see in your table, we've implemented some of which were already on 2nd and 3rd generation. But we've implemented a lot of technology into RCTA in the last 6-7 years. And it's really nice, and I can't say that it hasn't. You can't really know if that's the reason people are riding or the reason they're not, but certainly we can check the box showing that we're trying everything we can to make the rider experience a good one. We have cameras on board. We started with getting all the buses cameraed. I think when I first got here, there was 1 or 2, like a pilot project that just stopped after that. Remember the old REI one, I think, or? We had those in Nepal. So there was 2. So it was partially started. So we completed that, got all the buses equipped with cameras, and of course microphones. And then we moved on to a 2nd generation. Actually, an exciting project we did this last year was we had all the cameras already, but previous to that, First Transit had been supplying this Lidix equipment, used to be called DriveCam, that was like a G-force based camera system that sort of looked out front and then looked at the driver for safety training purposes, which was really good. It's good at that. But the latest generation of Lytx can now support external cameras, additional cameras. So we did a pilot and it worked out really good that we are able to avoid the more significant cost of like the Apollo DVR units, and we can just use our Lytx to power the 2 cameras that it normally does plus 4 additional. So we have pretty good coverage in all the coaches now, and the Lytx unit's a fraction of what the Apollo DVR system was. You guys might remember from one of the last items they showed that there was like a video system for like $8 or $9 grand per bus. So the Lytx system is like under half that. So it's a good money saver for us. And it sounds like it's actually easier to pull clips and work with than the old system, so that's good. So that project's been good. We've done others. We are now in about our 5th or 6th year with CTS dollar ride scheduling software. Prior to that, we used magnets and paper. Now this has automated a lot of the data collection, because in the old days, the next day you had to go through the prior day's manifests and a lot of notes scribbled and this, that, and the other mileage. So that's all automated now. When our drivers pull up to a pickup, they use their tablet. It records their mileage, what time it was, this, that, and the other. So it's been a big help, and that catches us up. CTS is not a super complicated system, but we don't really need that here because it's with our volume and the size of the community. We don't need like a elite top of the end model. So it's working pretty well for us. Google Transit, we're in both static and real time now. So if you open up Google Maps, if you punch the symbol with the looks like in front of a train, you can get the real time location of our buses on your route. So like if you pick a bus stop, it'll show you what buses that serve that stop and when the next one's supposed to come. So that was a process. We were GTFS static compliant like 8 years ago, but now we're real time as well. So that's state of the art there. And that cost some money to get there though, because we had to upgrade our AVL CAD. So if you go down to the bottom of the second page, our AVL CAD system, we didn't have any, in 2016, and then first year we used these little GeoTab plug-in. They were pretty reliable for GPS location only. That's what they could do. That's what they did. We used those for a year or so, and then First Transit incorporated them into Double Map, which we used for 3 or 4 years. That was really our first actual AVL CAD system. It wasn't bad. It was a little bit hard to care and feed and keep up to date on everything. But it was really nice, and it powered, that system introduced tablets into all our buses so they could count passengers and we would know where people got on and off at. So that was a huge step. Then with the mandate from Caltrans to have Google RT, which is Google Transit Real Time, we had to move on from Double Map because they weren't capable of that, and they were in the plans to kind of shut down the line anyway, so they said, no, we can't help you with that. So we procured Swiftly, and it's been in place for coming up on a couple years now. Swiftly's really easy to use AVL CAD system. It's very popular now. It's spread pretty fast amongst the industry. It provides a GTFS RT for us. And as well, it makes having the GTFS feed, which I have to manage every time we change anything, like a route or even a time point on a route, it has to be changed in GTFS as well. This kind of brings it all to that. So when you change it in GTFS, it automatically updates Swiftly and Google. So it really has been a big help in kind of reducing a little bit of the workload. And what else have we done? So we're in the 3rd generation, which is Swiftly of our AVL CAD. We've been doing mobile ticketing since 2019 with Token Transit, which is a smartphone app you can pull up and download, and then you set yourself up with a card to pay from and select your transit provider. It'll find the closest one to us here, so it'll find our CTA, and you can buy single ride tickets or you can buy a pass even on your phone that then you would flash to the drivers for the month or whatever period it was. So we've had that. We do an average of like in the last year, we did 556 transactions on Token Transit, so it's a couple a day, and average of about $3 per transaction, so mostly single ride tickets, but not exclusively. Occasionally, we sell a pass through there. We have onboard Wi-Fi for the riders for pleasure. That came from a part of the last AVL CAD Swiftly project. So we have routers with cellular accounts on each bus, so that produces the Wi-Fi that powers our onboard tools as well as provides Wi-Fi for the riders. That was an expensive project, but one that's, we are pretty happy with. The cradle points are very reliable. It was a one-time cost of like 34 grand for the equipment. Our ongoing cost is more in the 6,000 a year for cell data range, and another 5,850, it'd probably be 6,000 next year for the support for the cradle points, which is in order the cloud access and then tech support if we need any help. So that project's been good, but pricey. Our onboard credit card validators project, speaking of good and pricey, this is the project that we've entered into with our partners in the far north here to support the Redwood Coast Express, among other things. So this installed a credit card reader in every one of our fixed route buses. So I think we got 12 of them at the time. And that validator's right as you step into the bus where you would normally pay, you can tap your card, and it's for the contactless credit cards. And we have a promotional fare where initially it was going to be a 6-month promo, and it's been about a year now. But it's $1 per ride anywhere you're going as long as you remember to tap off, which people don't always do. Then it's $2. But the idea is to train them not to forget to tap off, because when we go to regular fare, that could cost them significantly if they forget to tap off. So that project is still in the pilot phase, and no, I don't have a date for the pilot to end yet, but I'm guessing it'll be this year. We've had 753 transactions in the first year for $1,089 in fare revenue. So mostly single ride tickets, but again, we're giving them the trip to Arcata for $1 if they remember to tap off. So it doesn't mean that they were all local trips. It just means they were all pretty cheap. I don't think they can't buy passes that way. So that is meant for the single ride ticket. And then last but not least, we have Felix Dial-A-Ride. So at the same time we implemented that in order to, for equity-wise for our Dial-A-Ride passengers, we got a pilot project going with the Far North partners to accept credit cards on our paratransit tablets. So that project's also about 12 months old now, still kind of wrapping up the pilot. What we found out was kind of surprising to me. It was very enlightening. We haven't sold many to end users. So like now, if you schedule your ride, you can pay for your $1.75 trip or $5 if it's General Public. You can pay it with the contactless credit card, even regular credit cards on Felix, right? So it could be either type. So that's good. So Felix is a little more flexible in that it doesn't have to be the vicinity tap. But we haven't had a lot of people take advantage of that. Who has taken advantage of this is we did not have a card reader in our office before. So our social service partners found out that we had the ability to take cards. So now they're ordering, a number of them are ordering their passes and paying by credit card, and we're processing it through Felix. So it's met a need. It just wasn't exactly the need we thought it would be at the start of the project. So those are the current projects that are already implemented and some of the costs and challenges they've given us. There's other things we can do in the future, and that's mentioned like on the last page. It'd be nice to have like a management reporting dashboard that was really simple to use, but Swiftly is a lot easier compared to like Double Map, so we're getting there. Automatic passenger counting in the doors, that's another project that we talk about a lot. It's expensive. A lot of it comes down to usually our vehicles we're underfunded on. So anything that adds like extra hardware to the vehicles, we got to kind of be sensitive to, because we're already overmatching a lot on these grants. But anyway, those are future projects on page 3, table 2, that we could pursue if time and money allowed. And I'll take any questions on that.
So this, the recommended technology that's coming up, which I believe is the next agenda item, right? That we're going to
Yes.
talk about.
Yep.
So do you want to ask questions about that now or next?
Whenever, now it's fine.
Okay. How's that work? It's going to work off of the cellular, off of the tablets, and how is that going to be beneficial over, say, like on your way to Gasky when there's no service, on your way anywhere from town to Klamath, there's no service. Most of the way to Humboldt, there's no service. What happens there?
Excellent question. I'll start, and if you want to tag team and jump in, we can do it. So the current two-way radio system we have, the good news is we own the product. It was installed a few years ago, and it does a good job covering the area around Crescent City pretty much, with the repeater that's over at the fire district that we installed it. Originally, it wasn't working great. The repeater really helped it for sure. So that's good in that it's owned, it's ours. We don't have any ongoing costs really for that. But it's getting older, like all of us are. And so we run into this technology by Orion Vontas that it's an app that goes onto a tablet, and we already had tablets in all the vehicles. And this uses then the cellular service to allow voice and data calling. Because right now we don't, as soon as you get, like you said, kind of over the hill towards Klamath or towards Gasky, we lose all signal. So the only way to communicate now, it's a risk to us and it's a vulnerability, is the drivers have to use their own cell phone to call into dispatch, and it's kind of fraught with problems. So this will allow them to communicate with dispatch just right through their tablet in the vehicle without using anything of their own.
So it'll be better than what they currently have.
Right.
Still won't be perfect.
Still some dead spots, but better than what they have now. They'll do real well in Grants Pass, Medford, Eureka, Arcata. There's still just going to be some dead zones in the woods between here and there.
Gotcha.
And that's until hopefully the cellular networks improve over time, and then we might have full coverage.
Any other comments?
I just had a quick one about the automatic passenger counters that you mentioned a little bit ago. You said they're expensive. I'm trying to figure out, are they worth it? What's the point of having a passenger counter? If we've got people at least tapping on,
Right.
why would we want to spend the money on a passenger counter? What's the advantage to us?
This last year or so, I would say the advantage is the original Swiftly AVL product that we purchased and implemented like pushing 2 years ago now, didn't have a passenger counting ability, so we don't know where they get on and off at with that. Without that ability to count, that then can be kind of traced to a geolocation. Oh, where'd they get on? Oh, they got on it safely. Okay. But now Swiftly has told us, we haven't saw it yet, but we're in line for a training session, and then they'll turn it on. So they've developed an add-on feature that'll do that for us with our current, without any additional cost to us. So our current onboard app will feature that. So when someone gets in, the driver can count 2 people real quick, and that way at least we'll get a better idea where the ons and offs are happening. This last year or so, we don't have that.
So those analytics are that much. I mean, how much more does the passenger counters add on to that product that we already have? Is it more? Or is it same? Or does it pencil out? Is it worth it to us, dollar for dollar? Or?
Once we get this new feature activated, then I would say no, it wouldn't be worth much, because it's not going to, the lasers only count, they detect movement, so they don't know if it's a child, an adult, a senior. They can be fooled by a backpack, and they can double count. I mean, there's issues with the passenger counters. They're not perfect. But they do kind of give you an idea how many people broke that plane and came into the bus and came out of the bus. But we'll have that with the driver count if the new Swiftly module works like it should. So then we're really not losing much after that. It would have been sure nice to have this last year and a half or so, but we've survived.
That's all I had.
Any other questions? I have one more. On the technology realm of things, not necessarily anything that's on here, just curiosity. Since we are buying, new fancy buses to at least make the 20 run down to Humboldt, right? What's the chances, or is it just ridiculous that they had like their own little monitor screen for the individual rider, like an airplane? Is that ridiculous? I mean, it would increase comfort. They could buy movies while they're driving along. I mean, I don't know. Is that out of line?
That's a good question. I don't,
I mean,
anything's
know,
possible.
even if you're just watching the Jeep, like when I fly on a plane, I've just watched a little plane go across the United States
do
or
too.
whatever.
I like doing that, yeah. I like
Or,
doing
you
that
know,
too.
I mean, if it's a 2-hour trip, you're listening, watching a movie while you're going down, it makes it much more enjoyable.
I don't
Just
know if,
imagine for 2 hours Joey watching this little plane going.
Right.
Sorry.
Count how many seconds to get across
we
California.
could have the same thing. You could see your little blue dot work its way through the woods.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I mean, I don't know how many seats are on the bus, but
Yeah, like 20 some, so I don't know. I don't know if any transit bus I've ever seen like that. But what we could do and what's been on the radar might have even been in the future possibilities. It might be easier to do like a monitor mounted behind the driver because our buses are so small. You could most everyone could probably see that, a little flat screen or something. If we could get, we were talking about this morning actually. Oh, well, yeah, not movies, but we were talking about promo ads, but you know. Right. But that's a little more doable. There's those display systems are inside some buses, and we could look into that
I
as
mean,
a,
if we're ordering
as
a brand
toy.
new bus anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, might as well make it comfortable.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see what a little monitor display. Then we'd have to figure out creative content to put in it. You know, like
If you allowed in-ride purchases, you could probably make more money from that than the actual bus fares.
you probably could. Yeah, that's a
I
good
mean, some games on there or something. There's money to be made. We're missing out.
That's why we asked for a few hundred more in the purchase order.
There you
'cause
go.
Ideas like
See?
this come up, yeah.
Okay, all right. Nobody else has any other great ideas. We'll move on. Item number 10, approval in the purchase order of order 2023-24-26 for not to exceed $60,000 to Vontus Orion Voice and Data Communications for cellular-based communications systems.
We've talked about this before. I'll go ahead and make a motion. We approve this purchase.
Second?
And before we move on with that, I noticed that on the purchase order, it's for 30,000, but on the not to exceed, it's 60. Why such a range?
Our attorney, Catherine, said to do the 60, just because that's like up to my purchase ability. The 31,695 is 3 years worth of this. Beyond that, we don't have any commitment to go for year 4. So the only way it would get over 60 is if we did about 5 or 6 years of it. But because it's a cumulative thing, and her interpretation was we should make sure you guys know. Yeah, I don't know why she picked 60 is like the threshold. It has to get a higher level of procurement after that. So more written quotes, maybe an official RFQ or RFP kind of. So that's why she said 60, even though the price is only 31.
Gotcha. And so this 31 and change will get us 3 years worth of service?
Correct.
And then moving forward, the cost per year should be less, correct?
Yeah, subsequent years. So after this first year, which is about 16,000, give or take, the next year is only 8,400 and then 8,800. So there's like a 3% escalator or something like that in that. It starts at 8,000 this first year, but then they get us an extra 6,000 for install and training and stuff. But after that, it goes down to under 9,000 for the next 2 years.
Okay, I'm happy. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Please pull the vote.
Director Altman,
Yes?
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay, item 11, the management report, TransDev General Manager.
We have a shop manager that started today, officially, Matt Fletcher is with us. He was going to come today, but we got pretty busy.
So other than that, well, all the routes are up to par, no missed routes. We did have, obviously, most of you probably know about 101 being closed 2 weeks ago, Friday. Our driver got stuck on the other side. So he was, yeah. But other than that, he got back the next morning just fine. The update for the Southern Oregon Medical Shuttle, it's been going up in ridership. We actually took 6 people there and back 2 weeks ago, Tuesday. So it's, the word's out there, so people are using the service now. So
Great. Imagine if they had a movie to watch. Telling ya.
No comment.
Great. Any questions from the board? No? Excellent. Item 12, the RCTA Executive Director's report.
I forgot what I was going to talk about, so I wanted to give props to Fernando and the ops team for that event that he kind of glossed over just a moment ago. That was, a challenging event, and they handled it very well. It was our worst fear, kind of like a nighttime return. We've got a bus down south of the grade, trying to get home with 7 people on it. So we had a productive trip going, and then we can't get through. So, we communicated real well considering it was like Friday night late. And the operator backtracked and took everyone home and dropped them off on demand where they wanted to go down in Arcata or Eureka, because, obviously everyone's travel plans were interrupted that night. And then we got a hotel room for the driver. So it was really, really good customer service and making the best of a bad deal. So wanted to congratulate them and give them some props for that.
Rejected the motel room and stayed in the bus.
Wow.
Wow,
He was given the option to, but he didn't.
Wow.
that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that, and then just a pitch for our next meeting. First of all, I wanted to apologize again. I know Kelly's somewhere out there reminded me. So she's not here because we had to move the meeting at the last second and she didn't realize the change. And it continues to be related to the fourth Monday slot that we've got is used by LAFCO when needed. It's their spot from like 4 to 5:30. And we were told they weren't going to meet. And then I was contacted about a week ago, maybe last Tuesday or whatever, we're going to meet. So you guys got to move. So it seemed like I asked Kylie, this room was open later, and I didn't see any city council meeting or anything. So we went ahead and just slid it back, but it's confusing, and it led to her not being able to be here. So I apologize for that. Our next meeting, it shouldn't be an issue because we're meeting at our place. So not here at Flynn. We're meeting over at 140 Williams Drive at the Redwood Coast Bus Barn. So we'll go for 4:15 if you guys are okay with that. Get the early start when we can. And then when we come back, we'll talk about Memorial Day because our fourth and fifth Monday in May is convoluted because one of them's a holiday, and we got to make sure we're all going to be here. So, but we can talk about that at the workshop in April. I think that's mainly what I had.
Okay, great. Any announcements from anyone before we adjourn?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple things about what we decided on at the last board meeting. I know I talked to Joe, didn't get a chance to talk to Fernando about the property on Williams Drive. The board opted to give DHHS and Dillon Mission Possible the use of that property that is right behind our RCTA spot there for a congregate shelter and also a micro village there. Just wanted to let you guys know that if you had any questions, or we could talk about it a little bit and let the board know as well. I wanted to be real clear about the shelter. Everybody has a picture in their head of what a homeless shelter looks like. Dillon Mission Possible is really doing their best to kind of change people's perspective or their mind about how that's going to look. It's going to be a completely fenced facility. There is no walking up and knocking on the door, can I come in kind of thing. So the idea is you're not going to have people pushing their shopping carts down the road right there next to RCTA and trying to get into the shelter. They will go to the navigation center out at, right off of Park City Superette, the little building there, and they will sign up and get placed there. They will actually get transported to the shelter there. There will still be some foot traffic, but with the wraparound services that they're going to get, they are going to be, or their foot traffic is going to be with a purpose. They, in the morning they're going to get up, they're going to eat, and then they're going to leave because they have things to do. And the idea is that they won't be in the shelter for a long time. They won't be in the micro village for a long time. It's a program to get you housed permanently. So they're dedicated to having a contact, a first-person contact with the neighbors in the area. There will be someone on 24/7. They're actually going to start with an outside security contractor. I don't think they're going to need them, but just to keep the neighbors, you know, happy. Nobody asked for it, but they want to be good neighbors, and Mission Possible has decided that they're going to hire outside security folks. So if I realize we already have a homeless issue near our shop now. So that's, I can't foresee that getting worse because of the operations that are gonna go on at the Williams Drive site. Also on top of that, there is the big building that's on that site, the old rundown building. It's the old mental health building is what it was. We, putting my other hat on, fire department hat on now, we want to burn it down. And the reason we want to is because a live fire training is pretty rare. And we think we can get a lot of firefighters in the region interested in coming and having that firsthand live fire training experience. It's probably going to take a couple of weekends to burn down something that big. And we're hoping to do that before the summer fire season starts. So it's going to be a bit of work, but shouldn't impact the operations at all. The electrical lines that are running through there aren't near the building, so we wouldn't have to shut down any power or anything like that. So shouldn't, all of that I'm saying it should not impact your operations at RCTA at all. But I just wanted to give that update to you guys just to let you know that there's some relatively exciting stuff happening right next door. So that's all. And I'm open for questions. You want to email me, call me, whatever you want to do.
I had a quick question,
Sure.
and thank you for the call a week or two ago. It was good to really get a deep dive into it and learn more. Not being familiar with the county or city land use regs and how they overlap, will there be any additional like hearings or anything where you talk about site-specific stuff, or should I just like maybe reach out to Daphne and them, or because we were kind of thinking what they could do with lighting. We weren't sure what their lighting plan was along our fence, and you know there might be some opportunities to collaborate or get some lighting improvements because that side of our building's kind of dark.
That would definitely be a Daphne
Okay.
question and a DHHS question.
Okay.
There hasn't been any formal hearings that goes along with that. We as the board of supervisors granted them use of the property.
Okay.
So if you have concerns about that backside of the building, then you can definitely voice that to them.
Okay.
And you've got Daphne's number.
Yep.
Correct? Yeah. So
That'd be good.
if you need any help with that or any other questions answered, just let me know if I can help.
Okay, anybody have anything else? Nope. Then I am going to adjourn this meeting to the next RCTA board meeting is the annual workshop on Monday, April 29th at 4:15 p.m. on site.
Yep. Williams Drive.
Okay, we are adjourned at 6:23.
Drive safe, Joe.